Here I'm performing the Pendlay row, and it's going to perform slightly different from the barbell bent over row. When I walk up to the bar, the barbell should be placed over my midfoot to upper foot of where my foot is. And then all I'm thinking about is rowing the bar towards the lower bit of my sternum or my chest bone. So you can see here that my body is relatively parallel to the floor, and I am keeping it in that same position throughout. I'm going to feel my lower back and my glutes and hamstrings as well, because they are working isometrically to keep me in that position. But the main thing here is that you do not want to load this too heavily, because we want to be working on the back musculature, and too heavily would mean you're going to result in excessive momentum. So the main thing here is that I'm pulling the barbell towards the lower bit of my sternum or my chest bone, and all I'm thinking about is keeping my shoulder angle at about roughly 45 to 60 degree angle while controlling the movement through it all. Some momentum could be used through the movement, but as you can see here, I am rarely using my hips or my upper or my lower body or lower back in the entire movement, and I'm keeping it in that same position throughout. So once again, when I set it up, number one is I walk up towards the bar, my feet is about shoulder width apart, the barbell is around my midfoot to the upper foot, and then when I grab the bar, it is slightly wider than shoulder width apart, and all I'm thinking about is rowing the barbell towards the lower bit of my sternum. So we do not want the grip to be too narrow or too wide, just slightly wider than shoulder width is just enough. And then I roll the barbell towards the lower bit of my sternum, and then I control it back down towards the floor. It's important not to keep bouncing when we are putting the weight back on the floor, because we do not want to use that bounce to help us get the rep up. Instead, we reset it at the bottom before rowing the barbell again. We have to be making sure that we brace the core well as well to keep our back in that neutral position and parallel to the floor, while having the lower back and the glutes and hamstrings working isometrically to keep us in that position. Now the Pendlay row is different from the barbell bent over row in that when we reset the barbell, it always touches the floor and reset, whereas in a barbell bent over row, that does not happen. So that's the main difference between a barbell bent over row and a Pendlay row. In that the Pendlay row also really requires a little bit more lower back and posterior chain to be working to keep us in that parallel to the floor position for our back relative to the ground.